Hello, welcome back to Full of a Took. We're here to talk about the Two Towers, Chapter 3, the Uruk-Hai, which was a heck of a chapter. I had such a good time with this chapter, and I had so much fun reading this. And also, there's a squirrel in our ceiling at the studio right now. So at any moment during this podcast, he might fall through, and we'll have our own little orc chase for a hobbit.
Oh, my God.
We'll have a naming contest.
That'll be great.
The fans name our squirrel.
Yeah, oh my God. So what do you guys think of this one?
Loved it.
Yeah?
Lots of fun. It was really nice to like immediately find out what happened to Merry and Pippin and not have to wait 16 chapters.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure that was going to happen.
Yeah, and it was fun to learn more about the orcs and more about like their culture and like how they treat each other. And I can't wait to unpack that.
It's super cool. A lot of new things happen this chapter. Like we had like parallel timelines going on, and like and we're getting a new perspective on characters we know. We're getting to meet like cultures we haven't met before. Orcs get speaking lines, and like in a real sense.
This is 2 chapters in a row with no Frodo.
Yep.
Really interesting. I like it better this way.
Do you?
What?
Wow.
I mean, none of the other hobbits have that like main character energy.
Yeah.
They're just here.
They're all just like, none of them are just moping. He's just so mopey.
He's so
Downer.
He's emo.
He's like, God, I got this ring.
Why me?
Yeah. And it was nice to just like, breath of fresh air, get the moped out of here.
We spent his like
They named those bikes after him.
Oh, my God.
Mopeds.
Yeah.
They used to be called Frodos. To see you go.
The last chapter we discussed was chapter 2, The Riders of Rohan. The 3 hunters, Strider, Gimli, and Legolas, tracked the orcs for 5 days, hoping to rescue Merry and Pippin. They found one clue, one of the hobbits' elven brooch, but realized that the orcs were getting away from them. As hope was waning, a battalion of mounted riders from Rohan approached them from the direction the orcs had been traveling. We met Éomer, who eventually revealed that his men had defeated a huge company of orcs, but did not see any hobbits. Éomer lent the hunters 2 horses to continue searching. That night, they reached the forest of Fangorn, and a cloaked stranger let their horses loose and disappeared.
I forgot all about Éomer until you said that.
Really?
And
How? Just kidding. I'm just
How?
teasing you.
he's so dreamy.
RJ's like, I haven't forgotten for a single moment.
she's in love with him. All of last week just came rushing back to me as you read that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, there's this badass like battalion of riders," and like I'm pumped with how the Two Towers is starting out. It's a little slow, but it's like good.
Can you say that there was 17 years between chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the last book?
Yeah, and it was moving.
Sometimes.
That's what I'm saying.
Two Towers, like
This repeated the same day twice.
From 2
So far.
POVs, though. Wait till you get to the 3rd.
I mean, I like it. The next chapter is just
it's just shadow facts, so it's just impressions.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to what Gandalf did before he met
wish.
Frodo.
I hope.
Reality.
But yeah, it's such a good chapter.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen in this chapter that are like, again, interesting from a storytelling perspective, because the Two Towers is different. The Two Towers is like thematically, it deals with things that the Fellowship did not. This is the lived world. We are going to meet some people. We're going to learn some stuff. We're not going to have Boromir telling us about all these people and places. We're going to go to these places. We're going to see these people.
To Mordor.
Presumably. But not Boromir.
No, he did.
He can't make that one.
did.
He did.
Boromir is a Gonomir.
He's a gun.
He's a Dedamir.
Oh boy.
Not Aragon. No, just it's not the only way to say his name. It's so bad.
That was terrible. That was an awful joke.
I love that though.
I still cracked up at
I
it.
know, it's funny.
Because it's so bad, it's like sad. Yeah.
All right, let's fucking talk about this chapter, huh?
Okay, so it's a really good chapter, so let's just dive in, right? So it starts with Pippin kind of coming to consciousness. This is a Pippin perspective chapter. This is a first for him. We're going to learn about all the nothing that goes on inside his head. But it's actually, it's Pippin shows up this chapter, and that's a major point to make early on, because there's a surprising amount of character packed into a little hobbit whose greatest accomplishment has been getting Gandalf killed.
Shit.
Pippin relates to us kind of what happens to them from their perspective at the ambush, from our perspective, like 5 days prior. So Frodo fucks off. Everybody runs into the woods. And as Merry and Pippin run into the woods, when everybody scatters, they basically run into the open arms of a shitload of orcs. And because Boromir was going to go take care of them, Boromir also runs into a bunch of orcs. The orcs were very clearly trying to just capture the hobbits because they didn't kill them. Obviously, they made it. And Merry was actually able to lop off like a bunch of limbs. Pippin has a very specific memory of Merry just lopping limbs off.
Yeah.
I was very surprised.
Somebody comes at you, the hands off, the arms off. So when the chapter starts, Merry's unconscious. He's been beaten into unconsciousness, probably because of the number of amputees he has made in the last 6 hours.
Yeah.
Which is more
lucky for him.
Right?
They had once you cut off an orc's arm, I mean, they have every right to kill you.
Right, and they talk at great length about the things they would like to do to the hobbits, except they're not supposed to based on the orders they have, which include capturing, but not slowly pulling them apart. So Boromir runs to their rescue, and then he gets all the attention. The orcs stick him with arrows, and Boromir dies. Pippin sort of shrugs his shoulders to himself. It's like, I must have gotten hit on the head at that point because cut to black. But as he's sort of regaining consciousness and he's coming up, he is full of regret. Oh God, why did Gandalf convince Elrond to let us come on this journey? What a mistake I have made. God, I hope our friends come for us. And then he has a very real moment where he thinks to himself, but that would mean they're not going on the mission. That would mean they're coming for me rather than doing the thing we were all sent to do. And you get this sense that oh no. And really before Pippin has a chance to wrestle with the consequences of all that, he just thinks, I really got to escape. I got to get the fuck out of here.
It's quite mature.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it the first time he's turned on the frontal cortex of his brain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also the first time we really get to hear his voice in his mind, not what he says out loud. And it kind of makes me think he might be deeper inside than when it comes out outside.
Yeah.
I think he really impulsively talks or acts before he thinks sometimes. But we really get to sit with who Pippin is deep down in.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's right, though. They have abandoned the mission and they're coming for him.
Yeah. So at this point, we get introduced to orcs, in a personal level, in a face-to-face way, because Pippin gets introduced to these orcs because they basically shake him awake, they slap him awake, and it's a whole lot of, hey, little guy, I'm going to pull out all your fingernails. Wait, I'm not supposed to do that? Okay, maybe later if you're good. It's a very... We meet orcs, and all of these stereotypes are true. They are violent, they are cruel, they are capricious, and they want to harm the hobbits for no other reason than they can. And when I say want to, I mean they are fighting over, should we kill them? No. How about we do it this way? No, we have orders. We're not doing that. And it causes a fight to break out because all they really want to do is pull the hobbits apart piece by piece. The fun part is that Merry and Pippin are treated to most of this in the common tongue, in a language they can understand, which is very fucking surprising coming out of orcs. But the inference is that there are several different tribes of orcs present, and they don't actually share a common language, which is very interesting, right? Because this speaks to how big Tolkien's world is, that you can have orcs with different language traditions, but also how disunited the forces of evil are.
I assumed it was just really different accents and they just couldn't understand each other.
It might be. But then to switch languages to something else that is like a lingua franca, something
true.
that everyone knows, how deep and how thick does your accent have to be in order to switch languages? A guy from Boston, a guy from Texas, and a guy from Louisiana are getting together to talk about how they're going to murder Pippin. And in order to be intelligible to one another, they have to switch to Italian. You know what I mean? That's where we're at. It's very, very different traditions, but they are all awful. They are all evil. They're all violent. They're all monsters. And it comes up very specifically that one of the tribes that's present is from Moria. And they're here to avenge the people. They're here to avenge the orcs and their folk that were killed when the Fellowship passed through, and presumably also the orcs that died on the borders of Lorien hunting them.
That's crazy to me.
They're just there for revenge.
They're here for revenge. That's
There is
it.
no greater plot.
The other two major tribes that are in are from the fighting Uruk-Hai that serve Saruman with the white hand in Orthanc, and they're bigger, they're stronger, they're tougher. These are like the man-sized orcs. These are whole people-sized packages of evil violence. Then you have a body of orcs that are from Lugburs, they call it. But the inference is that is Mordor, because they have the red eye and they talk about who's really in charge. And one of the things we're treated to is that the orcs of the hand of Saruman have a leader called Ugluk or Glok. Like it's,
Glock is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, Mr. Glock. So it's Mr. Glock, and then the leader of the Red Eye Band, the Mordor contingent, is Grishnak. And Ugluk is this giant warrior with like a deep growly voice, and he's giving commands to everybody. And he says he has orders that the hobbits are wanted for the war effort. Don't know why, don't know what it's about. It's some, quote, elvish plot or other. But they're not to be spoiled. They're not to be searched. They're not to be fucked with. They are meant to be taken whole and alive and as well as we can back to Orthanc, back to Saruman, back because what they're looking for is the ring bearer, right? That's what they're looking for. They don't know a hobbit from a hobbit, but they know that they found some. So mission accomplished. Let's roll.
And hobbits are rare. So they're like, oh, I got one.
Yeah.
Right. What this leads to is an issue with command and control, right? Because you have three different tribes very clearly present. One tribe is here for revenge and murder. That's the Moria orcs. And then everyone else is here because they're looking for hobbits. They're looking for weapons. They have orders to be here in this place searching for hobbits. Well, they found the hobbits, so now what do? They've snatched them up. Do they run east back over the river? Or do they roll west and go to Saruman and Orthanc? Well, Ugluk is bigger, so biggest orc makes best decision, so they're going west. But not without a little bit of dissent, because you remember last chapter they found a pile of bodies. This is where the pile of bodies comes from, because when the Mordor orcs start to get a little shitty about like, oh, who's really in charge? Saruman is a swine. Ugluk loses his temper, and he and his boys kill 5 of the orcs. Grishnak fucks off. He's gone. He's done. We lose track of him. And then Ugluk looks around and says, okay, we're doing my way. We're heading west right now. We're going to run day and night we are going to just run your legs off. So everybody get ready. Here we go. But before they do, one of the really important things in this chapter happens, which is Pippin, again, has this like moment of clarity when his orc guard is murdered and falls on top of him and he's got a knife in his hand. He just takes his little ropes, tying his hands together, rubs them on the knife until the loops are cut, and then pretends his hands are tied after that. So from this point onward, Pippin has free hands. He's still tied to the legs, which doesn't help him as much, but he's halfway there. Where we are right now is like in late morning of the first day after Frodo runs for it, right? Merry and Pippin get snatched up. Boromir's dead at this point. And the orcs pick up the hobbits like luggage, loop their arms around their neck or around their head, carry them like little screaming backpacks, and just run.
Screaming backpacks.
I just imagine like a toddler when you got to go and the kid doesn't want to leave a store and it's like, ah!
And there's always that mom that just grabs them and drags them by the hand, and they're like, ah!
But this mom threw him on her back and just ran out of there.
Yes. And they run all day into the night. And so the next like conscious thought that Pippin has is that night is falling. He gets thrown on the ground. Merry's there with him. Merry's still unconscious. He's got a dirty bandage on his head. He's been fucked up well and truly. He is out. But Ugluk comes by and he's like, we're done carrying you. Now you got to run, little guys. So here, drink up. And he hits Pippin with this like drink that burns like fire, but suddenly his pain is gone. And like, he's like, yeah, okay, I guess I could do this now. Jaegermeister.
Drugs.
Yep. They drag Merry to his feet. They slap him awake. They rub some kind of orky medicine into the giant cut they put on his forehead. Because again, their orders are to bring them in, alive and well, if possible. Gives him a slug of whatever he gave Pippin. And then it's like, all right, guys, we're going to run till dawn. And then at that point, the northern orcs, the Moria orcs are like, well, what then? Because we're not going out in the daylight. That's fucking bonkers. What are we going to do? Run? And Ugluk's like, yeah, you're going to fucking run because if these horsemen catch you, they're going to murder you.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about it? You want to get back to the mountains, you got to run for it. So part of the orcs' plan to outrun horses is to let the children run as fast as they can. So they cut the whatever ropes are holding the hobbits' legs together, so they still have their hands tied, and they are just going to make them run alongside these orcs that are just booking it. And I mean,
That didn't make any fucking sense to me.
Right?
There's no way they could run fast enough to
tiny
keep
little
up.
legs. Just
but they like
It's
to
like being like, I have to sprint. Come on, rabbit.
Yeah.
And the rabbit's like, I'm fucking trying.
it's like you're going to run a marathon with a wiener dog.
Yeah, it's just going to take a while.
Like
Yeah.
it would have been faster to just keep them on their backs, like little screaming backpacks.
Right. But they slap them awake and they make them run for their lives. And it's bad, right? It's bad. But Merry wakes up and his first thing is like, oh, hello, Pip. Where's the bed and breakfast? How we all doing? At which point they get slapped around a little bit and told to shut up because
Yeah,
they're not allowed to
no
talk to each
talking.
other. And Pippin lets the intrusive thoughts win again because sort of he just has this like picture flash in his brain of Aragorn the ranger stooping and looking at all these orc tracks and realizing that his little feet are not going to make any impressions. So he immediately just whips a 90-degree turn and dives into the grass and wiggles away. And the orcs are like, hold up, wait, we lost one, let's get him. And that's when Pippin drops his brooch. He's given a very stern warning that he's absolutely going to pay for that later.
Is it brooch and a brooch the same
British
thing?
is brooch, and it's spelled Brooch in this.
Interesting.
We say broach because we're heathens.
Yes.
Cool.
But it's the pin that holds
I'm
their
not
cloak.
correcting you. I just in my head, I just went.
I was wondering
Have I
myself,
been
'cause
saying this wrong my entire life?
Yeah.
No. Both ways are right.
Good.
Okay, good.
But it is spelled the this way,
All right,
brooch.
cool.
Yeah. No, listen to the literati. She knows. So now we know who dropped the pin. We know who made the bodies. We know who dropped the pin. Pippin describes this as like an endless tunnel of misery with hope slowly fading behind him. Like every time they stumble, they are just picked up by their hair and dragged. If they they've got whips. It is a very bad time to be a hobbit running for presumably the orcs' lives. But what we find out is that the orcs absolutely have a plan B in case things don't quite go well. The hobbits will never be rescued. They're just going to make some speed holes in the hobbits and that's it.
That's it.
So after all this and just an endless time of running, their little brains turn off. Pippin has no real recollection of a lot of stuff. So the timing gets a little fuzzy, but we have some important events that happen. One, they take a break. They get thrown on the ground. They get left there. And then the orcs feed them. They feed them. They give them gray bread, which I don't know if I would eat, but Pippin goes for it. But also some jerky. And
Uncooked jerky.
Like it's
look
dried
like
meat.
skin.
Yeah. And it's like Pippin has the presence of mind to be like, absolutely the fuck not. I don't know what an orc would eat. He doesn't know it's man flesh. That's 100% what the orcs are feeding
That comes
him.
up later.
That is farmer jerky. It is 100% that used to be a person and not that long ago. But the orcs are starting to freak out a little bit, right? Because the Uruk-Hai, the big Saruman orcs, are doing fine. But on the other hand, the northern orcs, the Moria orcs, the mine orcs have been having a shitty time of it. They are like throwing themselves on the ground. They're panting. They are fucking done. Ugluk is taking them west to Orthanc, west towards the seat of Saruman's power, towards
To
the tower.
Isengard, right?
To Isengard.
Okay.
Yes. But these orcs come from the north. They come from the Misty Mountains. And remember that you can see the Misty Mountains, the south tip of it, the tail of it, from where you are in this part of Rohan. So they are looking, they have to run forward and they're looking right, going home and safety is that way. And they say, fuck you, I'm out. Okay, whatever. You do whatever you want. You run. There's the forest. Ugluk points them in the right direction and says, get the fuck on out. And they run more or less in the same direction as it turns out. But they're out. They give it a good college try. And about this time, Grishnat comes back with a fuckload of Mordor orcs. So there's like 300, 400 orcs running around the area right now.
Where did the Mordor orcs come from?
East from over the river. Same place the rest of them came from.
Mordor.
But like, were they not there the first time?
No.
Presumably not.
Where were they just hiding, like on the way?
Or searching like this. The idea, the message that's getting relayed to us is that this part of the country is completely overrun. There's no control over orcs. Because remember, a huge point that's been made over and over again to us is that the Anduin was this bulwark against evil. Orcs did not cross the Anduin. Well, they ambushed the entire army of Gondor on the east bank and destroyed it. Then they overcame the garrisons in Osgiliath, which was the old capital of Gondor. Now they're presumably in Gondor proper, west of the river. Now
Right.
they're in Rohan, west of the river, in force. 400 orcs is not a small group. That's why Éomer said he pulled everybody back. That's why the country was empty when the three hunters ran through it, when Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli ran through it. Because it's not safe to be there, so they have left it. But one of the things that happens when Grishnak returns is he says, yeah, we got more boys east of the river. We can take the hobbits east. We can do this. There's a Nazgul waiting. There's a Nazgul waiting.
A winged Nazgul.
Right. A winged Nazgul. So now we have that confirmed for us, right? There's winged Nazgul. Because you remember that thing that Legolas shot a couple chapters ago?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Well,
I was right.
What did you say?
You did.
I said it's a Nazgul.
Oh,
yeah.
they didn't have wings the first time around, right?
Right.
They
You
just
also
have
thought it was a
Black
dragon,
Riders?
but both are right.
Yeah,
I thought it was a
You
dragon.
thought it was a
Yeah.
dragon.
Oh,
I said
sorry.
it was a Nazgul.
And I was thinking, well,
That's
Nazgul
incorrect what you
don't
just
fly. How could it be a Nazgul?
Right. No, you're right. You're right. So like, but what we know now is that they now can fly, which is never something you want. Now they fly.
The Nazgul now fly.
Right. It's cool. It's super cool.
It's not
But
cool.
also remember
The Nazgul, Nazfly.
Nazgul, they fly now. Is bad. But
Naz problem.
Naz problem, yes
Naz
problem.
problem for everybody.
Das problem.
Naz problem.
Naz problem.
Sorry,
It's cool. It's cool.
Nazgul no good.
Nazgul. Nah.
Well, it's
Nazgul. Nah.
Nazgul. Oh Jesus.
I'm sorry. I'm dumb.
All right.
No, that was good.
Getting
Though. That was
into
good. But,
Christopher Walken territory.
oh my God, it was good.
Nah,
But so the other thing about Legolas is he's been seeing like some kind of big eagle thing because it's been like searching, kind of like swooping and circling. Like, is this a Nazgul? Is that what he's seeing?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Right.
He's
Fuck,
seeing the
right.
clouds like, oh, there's an eagle over there.
And everybody's like, I can't see what you see. Right? Who the fuck knows?
Shit. I didn't even think about
Who the
that.
fuck knows? I mean, we know who knows, but
That's
who the
not
fuck does
good.
know?
It's not us.
Nazgul.
That's Nazgul.
It's funny because we learn a little bit about how hard orcs gossip because Ugluk says to Grishnak, he's like, yeah, maybe a Nazgul would be great if they didn't get their horses shot out from under them, if they could keep a mount, if they were if they were actually good for anything, that might be good news. And Grishnak like shits a brick. He like is like shaking and he's like, you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't think that. You would never dream of that if you knew what a Nazgul was. The Nazgul are real, and now they fly, and it's fucking bad. But also, we learn that according to the designs and plans of the enemy, the Nazgul with wings are meant to be a surprise for later. They're not for now. They're for the war and for other things.
The
What
last phase.
Right. You got to have a secret weapon. You got to have something. But in the end, fuck you. I have the hobbits. We're going to Isengard. So they do. And they all go together because they all realize that if the horsemen know they're here, the horsemen are going to kill all of them if they divide up and separate. But if they stay together, maybe they'll make it. And then all the orcs are together again. Yay! And they're running for the forest. Because about the same time they find the northerners, the Rohirrim find the orcs.
Oh, God.
Because there's this general panic that runs through the orc column, and it's because the riders have appeared behind them. And then throughout the day, the riders appear on their sides. And Pippin has enough presence of mind to realize that they're being herded. They're being kept together so they can't scatter. The orcs run, and then they stop on a hill half a mile from the edge of the woods, but they can't quite get there. The riders are upon them. So they get on this hill and they all like throw themselves down and they take a breather and they throw the hobbits down and it starts to get real squirrely in the orc camp. And what I mean by that is they get a little, there's a general sense of unease and unhappiness. Because
Much like Chris.
If people, in case you forgot, there's a squirrel on the ceiling right now.
somewhere, maybe watching, maybe
And I'm
listening.
panicking while we record this.
Okay, there's a reason all four of us stay in the same room all the time. It's like a horror movie.
Don't split up.
Don't split up. So the orcs are justifiably upset because they are half a mile from the forest. And Fangorn, and I'm going to say it how I want, Fangorn, is... Like it wraps around the foot of the Misty Mountains. So these northern orcs were running home, and they got stopped just short of the goal. And the other orcs are running for the cover of the trees because the one place you don't bring horses and cavalry is into heavy woods. And the forest is a nightmare of trees and growth and, whatever else horrors live in there that Celeborn doesn't like. Monsters, right. Presumably, question mark, maybe. But is there really a monster worse than 400 orcs in the woods? We don't know yet.
Couldn't possibly know.
The orcs aren't going to find out either because they stopped a half a mile short. And it's getting real bad. Everybody's panicking except Ugluk, who's like, nah, Mal here, another band of orcs, is hidden in the trees somewhere, and they're going to find us, and they're going to attack the encircling horsemen, and then we'll break out. It'll be fine. Because one of the things that's happened is that the Riders of Rohan have built a series of fires around the orcs. And the reason for that is because you want to be able to see if anybody's trying to escape and break out, so that way they can be overwhelmed and murdered in the dark.
Right. As you do.
And the orcs are finally... they're able to shoot back because something I didn't mention about the herding aspect of what was happening to the orcs earlier was that the Riders of Rohan would just ride close and whip a couple arrows into the crowd and then leave again. And so that was the trail of bodies that Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli started to find with the gray arrows, the gray fleshed arrows. Mm-hmm. It's because the riders were just making sure the orcs kept moving. Keep them moving. Just a little poke and a prod, just a couple of dead bodies. What are you going to do?
Damn.
And then there is a general commotion because apparently some Riders of Rohan have gotten off their horses, crawled through the long grass inside the fire line, stabbed a bunch of orcs and ran.
I love this part.
Right? Like you're a rider, Rohan. You've got them trapped. Are you and the guys just getting juiced in it? Like, I want to kill something. I'm not waiting.
Kidney.
I love that. It's so great.
Like this Swedish shadow stands up and just pop, 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 and you're done. They didn't have to do that. Nothing about the plan required them to do that. I think on a certain level that Tolkien, just like the Gurkhas, which were the Indian colonial soldiers that were in the English army in World War I, the Gurkhas were known for going in with knives and just quietly killing a whole bunch of people and then leaving. So in the morning, you find out that everybody 30 feet to your left is dead. So this is kind of what happens.
Silent but deadly.
Silent, but why would you do that? What this does to the orcs is it stirs them all the fuck up. Even Merry and Pippin's guards pull their swords out and go to figure out what's going on. So at this moment, Merry and Pippin are like, oh, fuck. Maybe we can do this. Maybe we can. And then Grishnak snatches them out of the dark. He's like, hello, little guys. And just starts like groping them in the dark. And there's a very interesting moment where we see, again, Pippin has showed the fuck up because he intuits immediately that Grishnak is looking for something on his person. And he says kind of like, you won't find it. It's easy to find, but you're not going to find it that way. Grishnak's like, well, shut the fuck up. What do you know? He's like, Gollum. And Grishnak's like, oh, that's what you're talking about? So clearly Grishnak knows more than, say, Ugluk.
Right, because it made me think he was probably part of the team that tortured Gollum when he was taken by the enemy.
Maybe.
Could have been.
You don't know where his information comes from, but he has it. He knows what's up.
Yeah.
And Pippin immediately clocks that. And so he's like, you're not going to find it, Gollum. But if if you cut our legs, I'll tell you where it is or how to get it. And Grishnak kind of like laughs at them. It's like, you don't even understand the situation you're in. We're going to cut you to tiny pieces and I'm going to get what I want no matter what happens. You're dead. So don't try to play cute. Don't try to be in a point of power here. You have nothing. You're dead. Everything on you, we're going to find eventually. And it's Merry or Pippin. One of the hobbits turns back. It's like, yeah, but is it going to be Ugluk who finds it? Or is it going to be Grishnak who finds it?
Not bad.
Right.
Now we're talking.
They don't know all the math on this situation, clearly, because Grishnak just grabs them with terrifying strength and crushes them to him, puts his hands on their little mouths, and like scoots into the darkness.
The zoomies.
He gets the zoomies, and he picks a point between two fires in the opposite direction of the noise and zips out. And now they're broken out. Merry and Pippin are now outside of the circle. They're outside of containment. They're not going to be murdered by riders, maybe, but they're definitely going to be murdered by Grishnak.
100%.
Except Grishnak does something, sees something, breathes wrong, a horseman sees whatever. There's a rider in front of them, a rider of Rohan, one of the sentinels. And Grishnak drops to the ground on top of the hobbits, and he goes to pull a knife to just kind of like put some holes in the hobbits, because, again, that is the plan. And something about the knife, something about the light, something about the noise, the horse, whatever it is, the rider sees and shoots an arrow, and it goes through Grishnak's knife hand. And then Grishnak goes to bolt, and he stands up and he goes. That rider just kicks and goes and rides Grishnak down and spears him in the back, and he's screaming and he's writhing, and it's this really visceral moment of violence that we have not gotten so far. Things die, but it's like, and Aragorn cut his head in half. Next slide.
Yeah, you don't hear like he screamed as his head fell in half.
Right. Things have died.
Yeah.
Grishnak dies bad.
Yeah.
And that's new. Again, Two Towers, new book, new rules. And Merry and Pippin are laying on the ground, and they're just like, man, I hope we don't get trampled by a horse, or that these guys know the difference between a very small orc and a hobbit in the dark. You know, Pip, they probably don't. You're right, Mary. Oh, what the fuck are we going to do? You know what we ought to do is have a snack. And they do. So they free themselves, and they have some lumpus, and they munch quietly in the dark while they consider, well, we're outside of the siege. We're outside of the murder zone. We're out of the kill box, but we're not out of the fire yet. In this time, in all this madness, the orcs malheur, the orcs from the woods come out, and there's a brief battle and a brief fight. They're turned back. Containment is still on. The orcs are fucked. The orcs are fucked. They're done.
Yeah.
And Merry and Pippin decide at that moment that it is time to go. Part of this process of them processing their current situation is they slip into this extremely formal form of talking to each other. Like this stylized speech patterns that Tolkien is just like, this is just how hobbits talk to each other when things get bad. And it's very well, Master Brandybuck.
Hey.
Yeah. Yes, cousin. Well, we've jolly well fucked it, haven't we? Yes, we have. And it's like in the third person, and it's this like it's very funny because they are
So out of place.
right.
They're still like on a battlefield.
Yet things are being
There's
Formal
murder
conversation.
happening behind them.
and they're crawling
Some of that
through the
misread.
grass. Yeah. They have themselves a little treat, and they snack, and they wait for the feeling to come back to their toes, and then they talk to themselves in the third person. It's a very standard procedure.
I feel like it's just the effect of food to a
Maybe.
hobbit.
Right?
As you
Right?
do, you know.
Revitalizes them.
So they have this very fun moment that I know Chris is going to go off on a lot, but Pippin is like, well, you know, I don't really know where we are. And Mary's like, well, I know where we are because I studied maps in Rivendell. And this is the Entwash, and that's Fangorn Forest, and we should get into the forest. Why? And they don't really go into why, but they're going because that's the only plan they have, because it's the thing that least likely ends with them squished or murdered.
Yeah.
Fair.
And so they have their elven cloaks on, and they're just like little shadows in shadow, and they're crawling through the grass out to the tree line. And they make it.
Yes.
They make it to freedom. They've done it. They're sitting in the trees, and they are contemplating everything that has happened to them. And the sun starts to rise on this proto battlefield, this beginning of a thing. And Tolkien has an amazing line that Merry and Pippin are crouched in the tree line, and like the first children of elves watching the first dawn, they saw the sun come up. And when it did, they saw a lot of murder. Because the riders charged. They charged the remaining orcs that they had encircled. And they run through them, and they annihilate them, and they swing back around to come through another pass to kill the survivors. And at that point, they fucking break. The orcs go in every direction, and they scatter. One of the directions they scatter is directly at Merry and Pippin. There's a crowd of orcs just coming because it was the straightest line to the woods. When you know it, it's the best orc escape route. Ugluk and a bunch of Uruk-Hai, the big boys, the actual motherfuckers, are just running directly at Merry and Pippin. At that point, they choose to peace out. They're like, we have seen enough murder for one day. I feel like this day, this dawn, has been red enough for me. They book it. They're out. Turns out they didn't quite have to do that because not only do they stop that orc breakout, not only does no orc survive this whole ordeal, but they encircle the orcs, they stop them, and then Éomer gets off his horse. The third marshal of the Riddermark gets off his horse and kills Ugluk in single combat.
1v1.
Yep.
He didn't have to do that. Didn't have to.
But he wanted to.
Wanted to.
Yeah. He wanted murder.
Yeah.
This was the person who was also absolutely ready to just cut Gimli in half the fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fun way. Wait, which way is the fun way?
Diagonally.
Oh my God.
Chris knows.
Just checking.
But what we're left with is this moment where there's no survivors. None of this ever gets back to Mordor. None of this ever gets back to Isengard. What happens after the battle is what we know, which is that the riders gather up all the bodies and they burn them, and then they make a mound for their fallen, and then they fuck off back south. Merry and Pippin don't see any of that. They don't know any of that. All they know is that the orcs are coming at them, so they book it into the woods even deeper. And that's how the chapter ends.
Well, this was certainly a chapter that was quite unexpected. One, as I said before, this was obviously another chapter without Frodo, but this was the first chapter where I felt like we were like living through Pippin's eyes. Yeah. Like his
It brought us
POV.
back to like the frenetic chaos of everything that happened in the Shire.
Yeah.
And like the Hobbit's point of view on everything was just like,
It reminded me of like when they set out from Buckland.
Yeah.
After reading this chapter, I truly do feel like, man, maybe I didn't give Pippin enough credit.
well, he didn't give us anything to go off of to give him any credit.
Very true. But, and this wasn't brought up in the summary, but like one of the things very early on that like really got my brain going and made me start to really empathize and like feel like, oh, I'm Team Pippin, was when Pippin sort of used the dead orc's blade to free his hands. And then he retied new loops out of the cut rope into like fake handcuffs. And put them back on. So if you looked at him, it would look like his hands were tied, even though he could like pull away easily, which was cool.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to say like, oh, maybe Pippin just does best under pressure.
Yeah.
It's not like they've never been under pressure before when he just sat there like a bump on a log and did fucking nothing.
Especially with a willow tree.
Yeah.
But he had other people to fall back on.
It just got sucked in.
Yeah.
No, but Laura, he had other people to fall back on at that point.
That's true.
And Merry now
Now
is
has to be his
unconscious.
own hero.
He has a head
Yeah.
wound. It's literally up to Pippin or they're dying.
Yeah. Different kind of pressure.
People don't show up until they do. And sometimes one of the things that has to happen is there can't be someone else to help them. There can't be someone else to lead them to a better decision. And when you put somebody in a place where they have to suddenly start thinking for themselves, sometimes you are surprised in a good way, and sometimes you're surprised in a bad way.
Yes.
Yes. Let down is the word for that.
Yeah. There's a couple of things I want to just jump into here. Tolkien wrote, the orcs did not wish to fight when Merry and Pippin run into the first batch of orcs. And they're like, I'm just trying to picture that. These guys clearly are ready to go. They got their swords, and these little things bump into them, and they're cutting off hands and feet and this shit.
Yeah.
That was like the first moment of interaction with the orcs where I felt surprised. They didn't want to kill him. I would have assumed that was like
That was their orders.
number one. Well, we don't know that then.
Not then. No.
Right. Not at that moment.
We
No.
don't know that then for a while.
Right.
Like at least 8-9 pages.
Yeah. It's a minute before we find
And
out
I'm like,
why.
what do you mean they didn't want to fight?
Yeah.
Like these are killing machines.
For me, this was a moment where Merry specifically in Pippin's, like through Pippin's eyes, Merry went from like Hobbit number 3 to being like Danny Trejo with a machete.
Machete.
Machete kills. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Pippin is like, he's very clearly amazed at the amount of violence Merry was able to achieve.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was
yeah.
impressed too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the first things I noticed in this chapter that really grabbed me was how different the writing style became when we jump into Pippin's inner monologue, when he's recalling everything that's happened up till now. It's this like, it almost feels like a run-on sentence, like the way like a 6-year-old would tell you a story. He's like, and this happened, and then this, and then this, and then it was like very interesting.
That's how Pat talks.
Well, sometimes, yeah.
Damn it.
Aw. His
True.
thoughts were
Stop saying
racing.
and.
I just get excited.
No, his thoughts were racing. He was so excited and also
And-
anxious.
No, and then.
yeah, on the edge of his seat.
Yep. And on the topic of writing styles, was anybody else, well, I guess Chris, were you surprised at how well-spoken the orcs were?
Well spoken, it works. Yeah.
I was shocked. I was expecting, I guess, I don't know, from
They were
the
sassy.
movies or whatever, like caveman, like grunting kind of speech. And they were just carrying on these like perfectly civilized conversations.
I'm so glad.
About killing people, but still, they were so well spoken.
They had adjectives and verb tenses and like complete sentences and sarcasm.
In book 1, well, actually book 2, but technically still part 1, when we were in Moria, we were like, oh my God, I think Chris, you brought it up. The orcs are laughing when Gandalf says something like they don't even know they're not even speaking the same language. They're speaking their own tongue. And in this chapter, we realize that orcs actually speak the common tongue.
What does the common tongue mean?
Basically English.
Basically English, yeah.
And so all the orcs have their own different dialects. They don't understand each other. So they all speak in basically English to communicate amongst themselves.
It's really nice of them. Who taught them that?
Exactly.
That's a really good question, especially the Moria
The
orcs.
guy they made jerky out of.
Taught
That
them
was
that.
his first job.
That's actually, Laura, I love that you said that because I was thinking that and I was like, oh, even the cave dwelling, like beneath the earth orcs
Exposed
speak
to
English
no one else.
in a very advanced way. Perfect grammar,
Although,
humor.
did they say anything?
It was a
Yeah,
little.
they do.
it
They
was
do,
a-
they do.
They have exchange programs.
It was a little convenient for J.R.R. Tolkien to write that. Like, is that the universal language of
Yeah.
them?
Yes.
It's called the common tongue.
So everyone knows it.
It's
They've called it something else in the other book.
the
West-
the language of the Westerness.
Westerness.
Westerners, yeah.
But one thing about orc speech I love is that he even says it sounded at all times full of hate and anger. So
Yeah.
then when they're actually being witty and kind of, they're still arguing, but they're kind of being like jovial with each other, they switched the common tongue, which made me think, him being a linguist, maybe their hateful, ugly language doesn't have a more jovial like word pattern. Maybe they can't even translate certain things to something that's in green.
Yeah.
Maybe when they speak in their tongue, it's just hate and violence and darkness. And when they have to say certain things, they have to switch because there's no translation.
We get to see the fractious, tribal, divided nature of evil. We get a feel for this is the orcs in their own words, and they're hideous.
Yeah.
They are monsters. Like this isn't a reconstruction. This isn't a weird cultural divide. These are beings of violence and horror.
What they're saying is hideous, but I guess my point is I was surprised at how beautiful their speech was. You know, he says, a winged Nazgul awaits us northward on the east bank. Not words I would have expected to come out of an orc's mouth.
I don't know if I would say that's beautiful.
They're not beautiful.
I think that'd be
Sophisticated.
eloquent.
Sophisticated, thank you.
Sophisticated.
That's the word I was
Yeah.
looking for. And just,
Sophisticated.
no.
Well, here. You want to read some beautiful words?
Oh,
Number
Jesus.
4.
Oh, we're
Number
only at
4, black tongue.
What?
Ugluk u bagrank sha pud pushtug saruman glob bubhosh sky.
All right,
So
what was
this is
that point you just
something-
made about them speaking beautifully?
Something I wanted to
That's in their
say.
language, though. In English, it was
but
very
Pat,
eloquent.
as them being first-time readers, I actually asked Chris to take this down when we were reading, listening at the same time, because this is the first time we get to hear them speak in the Black Tongue.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Gandalf does it a little bit, and Elrond is very unhappy.
Yeah.
But this is the vernacular.
Yeah.
This is real.
Well, you try.
Ugluk u bangrak shapushtug Sauroman glob bobshok sky.
Glob.
I don't know,
that
man.
stands out.
I liked that.
I was trying to the dudes who speak Klingon. That's what I was shooting for.
I get that. I get that. What was that line again you said?
A winged Nazgul awaits us northward on the east bank.
Fucking Nazgul.
Fucking
Dude.
Nazgul.
I am right. God bless me.
Well,
Wait,
hold on. What
right
are you
about
right
what?
about?
I was right because The Nazgul, Legolas, shoots in the air, in the dark,
One arrow.
one arrow.
Single arrow.
Was this when they were on the river?
And, yeah, and you asked, what was it? And you said dragon, and I said Nazgul. I don't think I said Nazgul. I think I said Dark Rider or some Black Rider, but it was Nazgul. And
Spooky boy.
you know, it was a goose Naz. And
The goose.
goose.
You got it, a goose.
We got him a goose. Gabba goose.
Gabba goose.
Louis Guzman.
Gabba Naz.
Laura's next food for thought.
Nice.
But I was like, as soon as that came up, I was like, oh shit, dude. I fucking knew it.
See, when you said that, I was like, there's no way it could have been a Nazgul. They don't have wings.
Yeah.
Well, they killed your horse, so what do you get next? A flying horse.
That just made so many more questions in my brain.
Well, whatever
Like, there
it's
was
going to
only
be.
supposed to be 9 Nazgul, and now there's a winged one? Like, what? I'm confused.
Bat.
Go you.
But then they had that interesting line where he was like, also, that's a secret. Don't tell anybody. And I was like, what the fuck? You just told me. You spoiled your own secret. That's
But speaking of Nazgul, I love that Grishnak says, Nazgul, Nazgul. And he starts shivering and licking his lips. And he's like, you speak of what is deep beyond the reach of your muddy dreams. Nazgul. And I'm like, he pulled a fucking Beetlejuice. He just keeps repeating Nazgul.
Said it 3 times.
Yeah.
Beyond the immediate violence is a whole lot of the orcs very much reminding each other that they report to beings of horrible power. And it's a
Yeah.
lot of what would happen if somebody heard you say that.
They even say, like, oh, do you think that your mission is for Saruman is more important than Sauron's mission? Mm-hmm. Right?
This whole thing
There's
just
like a
had
line,
me
right?
rolling. They're all working for the same goal and they don't know it.
Right.
Well, yes and no, right? Because I think that's the problem with everybody's issue with the Isengarders is that the Isengarders are like, we have our own mission that the White Wizard has tasked us with. Mm-hmm. And because we're bigger than you, that's just what we're going to do. And everybody else is like, wait a minute. Who do you serve? You can only serve one. So who is it that you serve?
And
But they're like, we serve the number 2.
Yeah.
Saruman is a bitch, at which point Ugluk starts murdering people.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that was really an interesting moment. Like the politics of between the different orcs started like coming out, and I was like, oh shit, this is intense.
And something real quick for people who are reading along that we don't really tackle head on in the summary and all that is that the orcs of Sauron, the Red Eye, they don't use the real names of anything, right? They don't say we serve Sauron. They say that we serve the Eye. They don't say we go to Barad-dûr or we come from Mordor. They say a different name. They say Lugburs, which is a different name that we don't get very much, like we don't get specific translation for, but the context is that's where the orcs of Mordor come from.
Yeah.
And the
That threw me off.
inference,
I couldn't keep track of who was from where.
because again, he's a linguist.
Fuck.
So everything's got 14 names and words have power. So when you're terrified of your boss and the boss says no proper nouns, you know what you don't do? You don't use proper nouns. You
Right.
make shit up.
Yeah.
Where are we going? We're going to the bad place. It's going to be fun.
Oh yeah.
It's like my boss doesn't like your boss and I know that. So I'm going to tell you, fuck your boss.
The general manager doesn't like the regional manager.
Bingo.
Oh my
Bingo.
God.
Or it's like anytime 2 platoons work together and it was like, and nobody got along, it was a whole lot of, fuck you. Well, fuck you. Well, we all got to dig this stupid hole in the ground. Yeah, but you're an asshole the whole time.
So this is the 3rd time we've heard Tolkien describe a character this way. And I just had to bring it up because every time it makes me laugh. He describes one of the orcs as a thick leg going up and down. And the first time was Tom Bombadil. The
Ooh.
second time was either Gimli or Butterbur. I feel terrible that I can't differentiate that. But this
hairy
time,
legs.
when Pippin's getting carried, he just saw a thick leg going up and down. And I was like, this man loves a thick leg. When he can bring up a thick leg, he brings up a thick leg. It's like,
Yeah, it's 2 C's even.
yes. And it just every time.
Tolkien's
this-
like he picks him up and then his quads are dripping with
his
sweat.
rippling quads go up and
They're
down.
dripping from
in the
his
sunlight.
quads. And then his other leg.
Like this man loves a bulky thigh.
Oh my God.
Pull that out.
He's a soldier.
Because so many people in this have some strong legs.
He was speaking to me the whole
Honestly,
time.
reading modern fantasy,
Surrounded
nobody
by
has
strong
strong
men.
legs anymore. Everyone's a waif. Everyone's just
Well-
like long of leg, like chiselly. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, they have no muscle mass. They're just like anorexic, basically, with muscles.
A bunch of waifs.
A bunch of waifs.
The worst.
So it's like nice to see a
What's
thick
the,
leg representative.
It's strong.
Yes.
Thick leg gang.
Yeah.
I represent.
Thick thighs save lives.
Yes.
Oh my god.
But so it's funny though, because one of because the legs thing is actually one of I think the best lines of the chapter, when Merry and Pippin are being carried like luggage and they are just in pure misery and
They're like, nice legs.
yeah. Well, that's all. Like when they're running in these columns, right? And the orcs are just moving, and Pippin is just a piece of baggage, and all he's doing is looking over this dude's shoulder with hairy ear in his fucking face, and he's staring ahead. And what does he see? He sees these legs are pumping up and down, and they're just counting out.
They
seconds.
do. His balls dragging on the ground.
Up and down. Up and down. Unresting.
Unresting, but it's basically just this clock counting out the seconds of misery.
Actually, wait. The sentence. Clock. You guys stop laughing. The sentence is so eloquent. It says
something else.
I didn't know.
the tough,
saw
thick
your
legs going up and down, unresting, as if they were made of wire and horn, beating out the nightmare seconds of an endless time.
This was Pippin. He went,
I'm gonna be real.
Of an endless time. I mean, that's the run of your life.
I'm gonna be real. It wasn't until I heard that sentence read out loud by another human being that I realized this is where all of that horny fan fiction comes from.
yeah.
I also thought Pippin was getting a little rowdy when Grishnak started groping for the ring a little later on in the chapter.
Oh yeah.
He whispers, "I don't think you'll find it that way.
Oh my god.
It isn't easy to find."
He was like, it's quite small.
Oh my God.
He was like, I cut a hole in my pocket. If you go on the right side, you can find it a lot faster.
I read that and I was just like,
It's
oh,
gonna
no.
feel like a mole.
Jesus.
But trust me, that's it.
Well, after
You're grounded. Where's that spray bottle?
Somebody please, get the spray bottle out
after
and stop
Krishnak
me.
responds to that comment, which he just says, "In time, we will get everything out of you," and not in a sexual manner.
We will get it all out.
He says, "You could tell enough to satisfy the questioner." Proper noun, uppercase Q. As a first-time reader, if you even remember reading that, maybe Laura didn't. She was so.
No, I did. I did.
Yeah. What do you think, or who do you think the questioner is?
That's clearly Saruman.
You think so?
No, I don't. Because it's Grishnak who said it.
Yeah.
But
Grishnak is from Mordor, or the
Grishnak is
Eye.
from Mordor.
Oh, you're right, actually.
That's why I had to look it up
you're
to see who said it.
right. Shit.
So it's going to be a questioner in Mordor.
And who was like the third or fourth person to torture Gollum? Probably someone from Mordor.
Probably.
Because like number one and number two are definitely Gandalf and Aragorn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I had the wrong fucking thing completely in my head. Because in my head I was like, oh, it's like we already know that the hobbits are being taken to Isengard to be interrogated by Saruman. So that's who he would. Oh, that's such an interesting point.
yeah, 'cause it was Grishnak.
I just want to bring that up because if this is your first time going through, that's something to remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe.
really?
It's Fatty Bulger.
But like every step of the way,
It's Bill Fernie.
It's not the gatekeeper.
He's like, you fucking suck.
Butterbird's question is, do I owe you money?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But no, really, it's just one more thing where, like, to your point, they are working towards the same end, but they're coming at it from different directions, and they do not get along. They keep calling each other like swine, but also ape, which means
Yeah.
they know what an ape is.
Yeah, interesting, actually.
Is
I
there
never thought about
evolution
that.
in Middle Earth?
Are there monkeys there?
Apparently.
Not anymore.
Yeah, his name is Grishnak.
Do they know much about biology and the environment?
Probably very little.
Ugluk also sometimes calls Grishnak, but mostly calls humans maggots, which is so fucking awful. Because you're like, oh, I guess orcs live longer than humans. And so they're making fun of the fact that they're mortal in such a derogatory way.
That's gross.
And
But
yet we
also-
know a human.
So it's also a little bit racist because maggots are white and they call them white skins.
The orcs call the riders whiteskins,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
Rohirrim.
Yeah.
Like these like
human beings.
What, Laura? Would you call them? Like gorgeous Swedes or something?
The beautiful blonde men.
With their
That was it.
yeah, their long, luscious
King of
blonde
Prussians.
hair.
However, though, to that whole maggot conversation, we literally know a hobbit named Maggot. So
Farmer Maggot callback.
Yeah.
Farmer Maggot's
just
like, my
summoning.
ears are burning. What the fuck's going on?
yeah.
Yep, but still my favorite Hobbit.
He's fine.
Well, who's better
He
than
did
Farmer
stand up
Maggot?
to the night school.
Who's better than Farmer Maggot?
Frodo, Sam, Merry, Pippin.
Pippin now.
Lobelia.
Ooh.
Do you think Lobelia would have tolerated being dragged through with Grishnak and all them?
She'd have beaten someone to death.
She would be dead by now.
She'd be dead.
yeah. She would have been shrieking until they killed her.
No, I don't think Lobelia would have survived the willow tree or Tom Bombadil. I think Tom Bombadil would have put her in a pool to grow inside, and she just would never come out.
Tom Bombadil would have looked at that situation and gone, some you just can't say.
So there's this really depressing quote almost near the end of the chapter where it says about Merry and Pippin, once they come to, the Lumbus bread, they've freed themselves, they're running towards the forest. It says, they are going without hope towards torment and death, or that even now, as they knew well, they had little chance of ever finding friend or safety again. But they almost died, and they're just kind of like, fuck it. We're going to another death, but we're just going with hope, even though there is none. And I thought that was such a poignant moment because it's such a character arc for mainly Pippin, but also Merry.
What else are they going to do? What other choice do they have?
And their courage just rose, and they became these like better people. It was such a great arc for them.
And it's fucked up because in that moment, the only hope that Merry and Pippin have in the world right now, because Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli didn't find them. They think they're dead at this point. And they're alone in this haunted fucking forest. And we're assuming it's haunted because Celeborn and all the elves and everyone says this place is haunted and not in a good way. Unlike when everyone says Lothlorien is haunted, but we know it's in a good way. The only thing they have, and Chris, you're going to love this. The only thing they have, the only hope that they'll find anyone or anything is that Merry might know where they are.
This was the fastest in this entire series of books so far. This is the fastest that my smile got turned upside down. I literally was like, this chapter is so fucking good. And then they were like, and luckily, Merry knew exactly where they were. And my smile dropped, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I thought of you as soon as I saw it.
And he was like dragged into the woods. He has a head wound. He has like no memory of what happened the last couple days.
Serious TBI.
And he, one eye is going to the left, one eye is going to the right, and he's kind of coming back. And Pippin is like, I just saved you. And he's like, yeah. Also, I know where we are. And in that moment, I just, I want to kill him. I want to kill him. And yeah. My rage came back. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Whatever. It's a classic Merry moment to be like, it's a running joke at this point that he like knows everything. But he even like rubs it in Pippin's face. He's like, well, while you were fucking jerking off in Rivendell, I decided to read every map ever made. He's like tracking in his fucking dead brain where they are on a map, and he wakes up and he's like in darkness running through fire with Pippin with his blood coming down, and he's like and he's like, also we're coming up on the Fanghorn Forest, which we should go into. And I was like, this is bullshit. This is such bullshit.
I feel like it's really funny that was your reaction to that, because in the beginning of the chapter there's this great foreshadowing. There's going to be a reveal that someone remembers a fucking map, because Pippin early on says to himself, he wished now that he had learned more in Rivendell and looked more at maps and things. But in those days, the plans for the journey seemed to be in more competent hands, and he had never reckoned with being cut off from Gandalf or from Strider, and even from Frodo. Yeah. And that kind of sums it all up. So in the very beginning of the chapter, we kind of have that little nugget just like placed in there. And so at the end of the chapter, Omarius had the orc medicine, he comes to, and he's cut free, and they're running. Yeah. Of course, he's going to have, the recollection of the maps. And it's just like, once again, Tolkien sets you up for a reward.
And Pippin was just like,
I was just gonna go with him.
Pippin's like, thank fucking God
like a
you did
little
read the
Labrador.
maps. Because I already knew early on I was fucked.
Pippin is that friend that you're like, hey, did you print out the itinerary and like what we're doing?
Do you remember a toothbrush?
And they're like, I have Google Maps, I'm fine. And you're like, your phone could die. And they're like, nah. And then they're like, my phone died. That's it.
Also, can I borrow your toothbrush?
But then he delivers a little bit, right? Because it is Pippin in this moment. Pippin wakes up. Pippin is forced into that it's him versus the world. And not only does he have the foresight to basically save himself, but he's able to do things that ultimately lead to Merry being saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that thing that, was it Gandalf said? Or was it Tom Bombadil?
It was Gandalf.
That like every hobbit has that little light inside them
Yes.
that like when it's really necessary, it will come out and they can be brave and they can be bold.
Kind of. What Gandalf actually said was,
I can be brave, I can be bold, I can be violent.
if we could do that, that would be awesome.
We'll do that in one of these episodes. We'll do it all
Wait,
four
honestly,
part
like, if we could do that like right now, though, like that would fold in. Like, wouldn't that be good? Wouldn't that be good?
we doing this right now?
Yeah, why not? What's the line? How does it go? It's I can be brave.
Green, I can be blue, I can
be
be
violet
violet
skies,
skies, I can be
purple.
something, I can be purple,
I can be anything I
you
like.
I can be green.
I can be green. I can be gold. I can be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't. Okay, we don't know the number. We're drunk.
Cut that. Cut that.
Yeah. But so the point is though is that sometimes if you like throw a hobbit in a fire, surprising things happen. It was like you sometimes you have to squeeze them just right to find out if there's something deeper in there. Yeah.
Same thing. Same point.
Sometimes you just need to poke their eyeballs.
It's different than knowing there's something
you
there.
put a diamond under pressure or something like that. I don't know.
When you
Being-
squeeze an ass, sometimes a fart happens.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was what he was saying, basically.
Yeah, Gandalf's most famous quote, "That wasn't a fart."
Gandalf did a
That's what he
blam
said
bop.
right after Fly, you fools.
Yeah, I bet wrong.
I farted, you fools!
Leave the boy.
Fly, you fools.
Last thing I just want to
That
say
wasn't
about
a fart.
fools was I think the word fools was said more in this chapter more than any other chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It came up quite a lot, and it was an interesting thing. I don't know if it like means anything, and
Pippin killing Gandalf is the biggest victory that Sauron has had that we know of.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
All he has to do is turn Pippin.
Right. No, he doesn't. Leave Pippin alone. Pippin's doing great.
Yeah, he's doing the Lord's work.
The Dark Lord's work.
Wait. Speaking of, at one point I
Did you find
noticed
Jesus?
that they capitalized the H in he when they were talking about Saruman.
Oh.
I circled it and I was like, oh, I don't like that.
He's now a proper noun.
yeah.
Oh.
Because it's the two towers, baby.
Well, it's funny because actually he would be HEE, so it's just heh. It's just heh would be not happy.
I need a drink.
That's good. That's good because that leads right into food for thought.
Heck yeah.
So this is meant to be my take on the Orc-Draught that was essentially force-fed to Merry and Pippin. And it was described as being like this burning, fiery drink as they were force-fed it. And that it immediately took all of their pain away and they had this crazy burst of energy. So this is Fireball whiskey and Red Bull.
Oh my God.
It's not meant to be fun.
Laura, when you
my
joined this
God.
project, you were going to bake nice things for us, not torture us.
Well, this is a chapter about orcs. And it's all I had to work with.
Can anyone say
Down,
anything
down
in,
the Goblin
the, in
Town.
the black tongue?
Ashnazim Batul.
Oh, I don't know.
Cheers to this horrendous concoction.
All right, here's to you, maggots.
Jesus Christ. What's Fireball whiskey? Cinnamon?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
It's actually quite nice.
It's delicious.
It's not terrible.
that's. You know what? Yeah, I'm
It
down
was
for
meant
it.
to be terrible.
I'll run all the way to the mountains.
You know what
Let's
this
do it.
reminds me of? It reminds me of Big Red Gum.
Yes.
Yeah.
but with an upper.
It's just gonna cut to Pat at 4:30 in the morning, and he's sitting in his office at home just painting miniatures, wide awake. But then Laura comes in and she's like, Pat, what are you doing? He's like, I'm painting miniatures. I can't sleep because of the drink you made. And she's like, you're not painting miniatures. That's Persia, our cat.
Oh no.
Like gently shaving the cat.
And you're like, what? And Persia's like,
Oh no.
All of her little like toenail claws are different colors.
Give her a racing stripe.
she's got like mascara on her. All her nails are different colors.
So like, I'm terrified of the consequences of finishing everything I'm looking.
Oh no.
Bye-bye,
That
Chris.
was really good.
Goodbye,
just downed
Christopher.
Well, you guys live right around the corner.
I do. Yeah.
I have a little bit of a drive. Although really, this is Laura's fault.
Did you guys hear the squirrel?
No,
I heard the squirrel a second ago.
it's in your head.
Sucking your what?
There's a squirrel.
Honestly, Laura, I think
In the
you
studio.
discovered orc medicine. This tastes great. I feel great.
Fireball and Red Ball. I was thinking it would be
Fireball, Red
absolutely
Ball.
atrocious.
What's the how does the Big Red commercial go? The gum?
Big Red.
No.
I think that's how it goes.
Like better, double fresh, better, like whatever. We need the jingle.
That's the winter.
Double your pleasure.
Yeah.
Double your
And that's Doublemint.
Yeah, that's Doublemint.
I know, but like there's a big red jingle. You remember? I haven't seen it since like 1993.
I
but
mean,
it's in
yeah,
my
that's
brain.
probably the last time it aired.
I don't even think they make that gum anymore.
Oh my god, it's from 1985.
Precious breath longer than Big Red. So kiss a little longer, laugh a little longer, stay close a little longer, longer with Big Red.
Longer with Big Red.
That's not do it. Goes fresh but goes
On and on.
while you chew it, say goodbye.
This is too long for a gum commercial.
With Big Red.
1985
Oh my
was
God.
a different
so you
time.
go longer with Big Red,
Wow.
and then Red Bull gives you wings. So this is the drink of the Balrog.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wait. So is that what you call Chris? Is Big Red?
Got a little Tina going on over here.
Tina, save yourself.
Well, I feel like
This is going nowhere.
oh, there's hair in this.
This is going nowhere. Nowhere fast.
I feel like to really give the healing properties and like the numbness to allow these hobbits to keep up pace with orcs, there should probably be some cocaine in this.
You had to like kill all the feelings.
I
yeah.
also think if you guys are going to actually relate to the hobbits, they had 2 seconds to drink this.
Well,
Hey, Laura.
No.
Laura, we're gonna figure out who's gonna drive
No.
home by racing. Ready,
No.
set.
no, I
gotta
drove
do it.
last time.
I know you did. And I got in trouble.
Yeah, you want to do that again?
I've been in trouble. This is more like a chill
I don't want
out.
to barf in my own car.
I'll barf in your car.
I don't want that either.
Oh. Hi,
Well, this has been a wonderful chapter for Full of a Took. We've discussed chapter 3 of the Two
Disgusting.
Towers. Next week we have
hair is
chapter
this?
4, which is called
Treebeard.
Tree Beard. Twee Weird.
Tree beard.
I keep having a W instead of an R.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's
this-
Tweebeard.
Maybe this had something to do with it.
Tweebeard.
This was a nice little drink to finish out the night. I'm sorry that you're hating the thing you made.
You made that.
I enjoyed
wasn't meant
it.
to be
I
good.
drank it. It was great.
It's very nice.
Honestly,
I'm almost
it's,
done.
It's fantastic.
Do you guys ever go to New York? Let's go to New York right now.
right now,
I'll drive.
we'll drive to Chicago.
We're running.
It's just
What are you talking
it
about?
cuts to me driving. I'm just sleeping.
oh my God.
Hold on to your butts. In the
With
words
Big
of
Red.
with Big Red. Don't put Big Red in your butt either. It burns. I know. I just want to say, last but not least, make sure you subscribe to us on all your platforms.
Yeah.
I know you're probably listening to this, and maybe you're listening on YouTube, but like, if you don't mind, support us on the podcast app, because you're still going to listen to it anyway. And if you're listening to it, did you know that we have a show where it's a whole video show? We put it on our YouTube. You can watch it. It's pretty great. Anyway, stay tuned for next week. We're going to come back strong with the Two Towers, chapter 4. Treebeard, and also maybe we won't be pissed drunk next week. I mean,
For part of it.
it's possible. I don't know. So we're 26 episodes in, and we have yet to do one completely sober. So you know,
we never will.
we never will. It's part of the mantra, and I know that everybody's like, "What do you do when you're just getting drunk and talking about Tolkien?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That's
I'm
the
talking
dream.
about Tolkien and drinking.
We're living the dream.
I'm talking. I'm drinking. I'm Tolkien. I'm minking.
We are the people that would have gotten the wheelbarrows, whatever it
The
was.
wheelbarrows were made for us.
Yeah.
It's been another great chapter. It's been another great read. We've had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Next week is Treebeard, but hopefully you had fun this week. And I'm Pat.
I'm Robbie Jean.
I'm Laura. I'm worried about you.
This is Chris. He's a little drunk, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Welcome to Full of a Took. I'm here.